tal? Soy Glenda Omaña, periodista internacional. Gracias por estar con nosotros en Colby Negocios. Y bueno, tengo un invitado muy especial que viene desde Dubái. Él se llama James Taylor. Y por muchos años, justamente en Londres, él estuvo manejando todo el talento de los artistas, especialmente de rock, y luego se convirtió, a raíz de su experiencia también en Silicon Valley, desarrollando tecnología educativa, se convirtió en un conferencista, en un motivador con temas sobre creatividad, innovación, inteligencia artificial y cómo se puede aplicar en distintas etapas de nuestra vida. Y de nuestro negocio principalmente. Esta entrevista la vamos a hacer en inglés, pero aquí ustedes también tienen la facilidad de poder leerlos y poder captar nuestra conversación. Now, upon creativity, you're encouraging through the tools that you're sharing and your experience, the creativity in business.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because, there's some people that are more creative than others. So what is the process?
Yes, there's a couple of myths that I have to dispel whenever I speak to people about creativity. The first one is that they think that I'm not born creative. Some people are born creative and other people aren't. Creativity is not like eye color or hair color. It's not passed on in our genetics. Everyone is born with this unlimited creative potential. It's what we do over the course of our lives that's important. So that's the first one. The second one that I often see is that they don't realize you can actually train and become better at your creative thinking. Mm-hmm. So, for example, I can work with a group and I can test them using something called the tolerance test. I can actually test their creativity levels. And then I'll do a couple of exercises with them and I can measure them again. I'll actually see their creativity levels.
How do you call it?
It's called the tolerance test.
Tolerance test.
And so I can actually test someone's creativity and I can see their creativity. But the big thing I would say in business, and this is what trips some companies up, and it's a generational difference as well, I would say, is that we hear these creativity and innovation often used interchangeably, and they're not the same things. So a good way of thinking about it is creativity is bringing new ideas to the mind. Innovation is about bringing new ideas to the world.
To the world.
But without creativity...
I love that explanation.
Yeah, there is no innovation. Creativity is really the engine of innovation. It's the driver for that. The other thing I notice is, and this is a generational shift that's going on. Previous generation, my generation, for example, we would use innovation more in a business context. But the younger generation, they're using this term creativity more. They want to work at companies and in businesses that allow them to use their creativity and also be seen as doing creative work as well. And that's quite a powerful shift that's going on. In the past, we're seeing this thing, quiet quitting, for example. Or in China, it's called laying flat, where a lot of people younger people aren't feeling invested in working for their companies. And one of the reasons for that is there's a disconnect between what they're doing and being able to make it creative. And not everything is creative, but you can always find ideas for making things better, regardless of what your job is.
Now, you're an expert in education too, as we were saying, in Silicon Valley. So for what you have seen, for example, in kids and children and teenagers that have been growing up with the technology all the time, have these let them be more creative or less creative?
Difficult one. I mean, it really depends on the child. I think,
the combination.
And the combination, how they're using it. What I'm finding is, and this is borne out by a lot of research now, there's kids, when they use, let's say, AI in a certain kind of way, they're much more productive, much more creative in the work they do than if they didn't use these technologies. And we call them cyborgs and centaurs, the two different types. So cyborgs are kids, for example, that look at everything that they do and just don't even think about the technology anymore. It's just part of what they do when they're on their phone, whatever. And they've almost integrated AI or technology into everything that they do. They don't think about it. And then there's also these what we call centaurs. And centaurs tend to be a little bit more nuanced, where what they'll do is they'll look, I have to do this task, let's say for school, this project. And what they're able to do is just look at that task and say, these are the things I'm going to have the AI or machine or technology do, and these are the things I'm going to do using my human creativity. So centaurs and cyborgs, but both, what you see in both cases, they're much more productive than people that aren't using any of these technologies. In fact, if I'm using, let's say, an AI, I can generate, let's say, 20 ideas for something on my own, as just my human creativity for something. Me using an AI, I can generate 200 ideas. Now, will those ideas be any better? No, but just the law of numbers mean that there might be more ideas that are going to be more useful.
Now, in the case of business, what happened when we have totally the opposite? For example, too much creativity, and the person is like, okay, so many ideas, and those, so good ideas that how to land and how to say, okay, what direction should I take?
Yeah, and this is part.
Has this happened?
Yeah, this is kind of what I talk about. This kind of creative process. We go through these 5 steps or stages of the creative process. First stage is the preparation. So you're researching everything about this new project, this new thing you're going to do. Then there's the incubation, where we actually need to stop thinking.
Stop thinking.
Go out for a walk in the beautiful mountains of Costa Rica. Your brain will work away.
Okay, I never heard that.
See, so you go that.
Can you repeat that
incubation?
Concept? I mean, when you are, it's too much.
Yeah, because what people
Stop it.
Yeah, exactly. What people trying to do sometimes is they try to go from doing all the research and preparation to immediately coming up with ideas, and our brains don't work that way. We need a little period. It could be a few hours, few days, just to forget it, put it to the back of our mind. Our brain will continue to work on that idea. And that comes to the third stage, which is the insight or the aha, the light bulb goes on. It's the shortest part of the creative process, but it makes for good movies. But the fourth stage, which is the one you're talking about, is the evaluation stage. And this is where you and your team, you look at all these ideas and you decide, okay, which ones are we going to prototype and test and which ones maybe aren't right for now. And then the final stage is the elaboration. So this is you're doing the work, you're testing, you're piloting, you're doing your minimum viable products, as they would say in Silicon Valley. And then you generate more questions and you go back to the start as well. So the evaluation stage is critically important. And this is why I really encourage that companies have a lot of diversity in the people in the organization, because there's nothing worse. I'm sure you've been in organizations where you see this kind of groupthink, and everyone kind of thinks kind of the same from similar backgrounds, and ideas don't get properly developed and discussed and challenged. Ideas should be challenged. So that's why we want to have
especially
diversity.
Because the audience sometimes is so different, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think about it for my wife. My wife is an engineer. She's a lawyer, a jazz singer. She was a speaker as well. Her brain works totally different to mine. So when we're discussing ideas, I may have all these different ideas, but she's very good at recognizing, actually, this one has a higher chance of success, or maybe if we did this, we developed the idea better. And I'll be, I talk about this idea of creative payers, having someone in your life who you can share your ideas with, who can make your ideas better.
Okay, that's so important. Now, James, what has been the most creative idea that you personally, James?
Well, I had a really great opportunity when I became a keynote speaker, and I thought, how do you become a keynote speaker? I didn't know. I didn't have any friends that were professional speakers.
But you had that wish.
I had this wish, and I'd seen some speakers in the past, and I thought, I'd love to be able to do that, to be up on stage and inspiring and motivating people, but I didn't know how to do it. So my idea was, I'm going to interview 150 of the world's best keynote speakers, best motivational speakers. 150 interviews, and I made it available as an online summit called International Speakers Summit, and 10,000 other aspiring and professional speakers also attended it. So it was great for me because I was getting to learn
and to meet them
and learn all these things, but also other people were able to learn from that as well. So I think that was a good idea because it did a number of things.
A great idea.
It showed me that in the work I do as a speaker, there's no one right way.
Exactly.
We have to decide what is important to us. What kind of life do we want to have? I love traveling. I love coming to places like this, Costa Rica, and seeing this different nature and meeting different people. But some speakers like to just stay in their own home city, for example.
Exactly.
So it doesn't work as well for them. It depends.
James Taylor, so nice to meet you. It's been so interesting to all the value of this conversation for all of us.
It's been fun.
Thank you so much, and hope you come again. I know you have to leave to Dubai very soon, but I hope you come back to see more green.
Yeah. I'll be back. I'll be back. Don't worry.
Thank you so much. Muchísimas gracias a ustedes por habernos acompañado. Soy Glenda Umaña.